This is Dr. Justina Agnieszka Chevalier. This is continuation of instructive on how to become having self-esteem derived from altruism, and that is expressed in personal and professional action in evaluation of effectiveness of persons becoming equal to self, in unique importance when a need arrives, and unique sense of such importance, having unique set of skills, unique bodily functions, the burdening you, and wishing for a relationship that is respectful and in mind creates no longer unilateral provision towards you or towards that person, and therefore is no longer creating anger or resentment in lack of respect or pursuit of respect, because persons do not feel like there is a need to create another person such as self or destroy the other persons as if it was a chicken to make them into self, because that is how that is actually motivated and also based on language. What to do? When you have time, analyze mind content for need of good deeds. Analyze mind content when there are persons that you perceive as sole source of judgments as good or bad of your work, hobbies, and personal actions and movements in everyday spontaneous and occurring way. Divide that into persons and or creatures, make a list and write down what first it is that you have done in good deeds per that person each, or that creature each, that led or is leading towards that person becoming your equal in a role of being alive and an individual and having unique form, and your in uniqueness on formation, in skills, in education and experience superior to you, in capacity to provide created by demand, yielded by demand, services for you when you need those, deburden you from unnecessary multitasking or trying to do everything. And the second one, when that is actually also in corresponding to you self-esteem and placing you at the same level in your own uniqueness, in recognition that you know about their uniqueness and respect expressed in language and attitude and emotions, and provision of such in titles, advertising of services, and asking you also for services and proof of effectiveness from you. And that creates, when absent in mind or when present in mind perception that work when that person needed remedial cure, remedial emancipation, liberating, speaking on behalf of this sense of achievement, objective one, in which knowing, for instance, this tool, this works for sure because it liberates persons from performing activities that others are better at, the burdens from such obligation, and it creates then from self being a unique individual determined by greatest joy, a person who is enabled to pursue that person determined each of us as most enjoyable and in corresponding to need in the environment, soul activity versus personal relationships, while not impeding personal relationships but enabling safety and social order and social harmony to pursue personal relationships. And such is an importance of that it actually becomes no longer in a pursuit or emotional pursuit of trying to suppress other person's maximum professional capacity, skills, or physical characteristics, as such a reflex, in fear of having personal relationship or being replaced, killed, as it used to be common in animal world, to deserve survival, because that's an illusion from a meat industry, nothing more. And that needs to be realized. And so that is to become every single day done as follows: analyze and write down, divided into actual groups that you are trying to assist and assisting, good deeds, dividing them into subgroups, clustering persons in that exercise, and divided them, for instance, that's an example, into uh, juniors, equals, and elders in pursuit of social role. And then write down if those are individual per name that occupy mind as professional rounds under each and every person, what you have done that was good resulted in good positive emotions of that person, or even better, in no longer need of such, that person achieved pleasant assertiveness, sense of worth, and assumed social role, separating professional and personal, because shame or shyness is from an assumption that you could become potentially a romantic partner, and that it was such done that in sublimation that person feels in no anger equal to you, derived from subliminal role in society of work, and equal to you as an adult if that's an adult, an elder if it's an elder, and a child if it's a child, in own unique role and in potential to achieve each and every status. And that has to be in no anger and in no state of search of chronicity. But if there is chronicity in good deeds, in pursuit, in no anger, of emancipation of that person, regardless of age, to full sexual, social, and professional, as well as pleasurable potential, in greatest joy of that person and source of self-worth, enabling of that person to form towards you attitude of pleasant assertiveness corresponding in degree of expressed power to your actual personal or professional dimension at all times. And in such, I will then give exercises to practice and to understand how to play along. It fulfills personal and professional goals for each. So those good deeds go person by person based on mind content, and make sure that the good deeds have sense of worth and goodness dedicated to those other persons, or when many, then what's called in Buddhism compassion meditation, to groups of persons. In personal rounds, persons who are of utmost importance are persons that enjoy, consist greatest urge to take an action, to perform life-saving, empowering, or remediative action that that person wants, requests, or rejoices when such is offered as relief. Oh my God, thank God that you appeared because I need so. And when finished, that person resumes immediately activity, hence no need for thanks, and that person knows that you are confident, mature person, and that is enough to see that person at work, and enough when need arrives to ask, could you please, using your skill, sell me a tomato? I appreciate it, thank you very much. Or when deprived, which means you are in a remedial state, of funds because you spend it on, for instance, another action, a person says, how about you have the tomato, and the next time you again cook for me, if for instance I cannot do so because I am being occupied holding tools. That's an example. And that is in such a non-resentment and non-power struggle, in bigger picture and smaller picture, that persons do not feel burdened, or in non-corresponding way respected, because we are not to remediate each other's lack of self-esteem and respect from others. That creates resentment. So go through those good deeds, then during the day in personal runs take action whenever there is largest physical and emotional drive in joy to emancipate in a potential to become an independent, happiest possible per that person as source individual in personal and professional um, way. And when done, that person, when approached based on actual need of yours, is happy in respect to you to take remedial action pertinent to that person's role, or an establishment of social consensus of a relationship, interact with you in the corresponding dynamically occurring sense of self-worth way, without especially sexual harassment or resentment, anger, or sadness. And that is important. So those good deeds, when they are over, when that person at best does not create any emotions, be it good or bad, but functions in society as a stranger, as a worker, or as a hobby, visible, admired person, or a person that is actually someone we want to learn from or want to play with. And that, you see, in aspiring to achieve a skill is finite. So when there is a common skill, it is determined based on actual visualization of somebody's work, who is better, and the other one wants to achieve a given skill. Person is approached and asked, could you teach me how to do such and such so that I can provide for others? And that is done in humbleness because of the other person's superiority and need, in that humbleness, meaning being quiet, etc., to provide from self pending verification of that person's self explanations and providing instructive. And when over that person is deemed equal, and when adding pertinent and needed to others and or self skills, services, and things superior as such, and being possible to alleviate self, the burden self, in assisting others or in assisting to self in such uniqueness. When those deeds therefore are ineffective and no longer needed, with such mind, one will feel an independent sense doing that who, what, how exercise in the what part or how word of worth that is bulletproof, like metaphorically speaking, to criticism or to flattery. It means that you will see persons and social change, and you will know that this is good and in constant way improving and modifying based on demand without discarding what was done first, but as progress developing it, or as per demand developing it to ameliorate. And that is important. And the compassion meditation now, so remember, take those good needs in action every single day, regardless of profession. When professional, add persons who occupy most of your mind. And then when your role is in joy, starts to become a resentment or a burden, delegate to the person who will be in utmost happiness, being skilled and having confidence, alleviating you from being burdened or providing something in resentment, in sadness, or in worry that will replace in gratitude or in a reflective sense of worth and love for that person, in this equal, especially for a man, role of being worshipped for being effectiveness as opposed to own wife, derived from masculinity, for instance, or for female, derived from femininity when feminine job is performed as opposed to spouse, in that submissive passiveness, listening to someone, for instance. And so doing such then compassion meditation is realization of own goodness based on facts, but in clusters, so that there is a state of well-being remediated and taken action on in those personal runs every day, follow up to have then normal social structures, and then verification of harmony in society, and can be done alone or in groups. Next video, do that the personal runs when time occurs in paper, and divide on persons each, case by case, regardless of profession. When done, person has maximum capacity socially and personally, each per greatest of that person's enjoyment and enthusiasm, as well as yours. It has to be consensus to self and to all others involved. And next will be compassion meditation. Thank